I ask, prejudicial to the interest of the state for good reason. If we all agree, Mr. Chairman, that it was a blot, it was instrumental to the interest of the state, this Commission of Inquiry report says that he should be held responsible and should be reprimanded. First of all, was he reprimanded? And since this Commission of Inquiry report has not been stood aside, is he qualified to be a Minister of State?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to provide my schoolmate and classmate some education, since I have gone a little further than him. If you look at the constitutional provision, and this is not to justify in any way what happened at Ayawaso. That is not what I seek to do. But if you look at the constitutional provision 280C, it says that the Commission of Inquiry shall furnish in the report the reasons leading to the conclusions stated in the report. That is 280C. That if there's a finding, you provide reasons for those findings, and then you make recommendation. And I'm saying that in the 500 plus report, there wasn't any mention of me having authorized anything anywhere in the report. So everybody, including myself, was surprised and afraid that my name found expression in the conclusion that I should be reprimanded. And that is why my classmates, if you look at the commission, the white paper that cleared me, individual liabilities 6.3, it says that the commission, the government rejects, emphasis rejects, the commission's recommendation on paragraph 8.3 because the commission failed to establish the factual basis for that recommendation. That is what the white paper said. That you say we should reprimand him for authorizing an operation in a built-up area, but we reject it because you have not provided any reason to support that assertion. So yes, I have been cleared by the white paper, which forms part of the commission's report. But notwithstanding the report in itself and the white paper, it's my conscience that I have to live with. It's me, Brian Champon, the Presbyterian, notwithstanding everything that I am known for. I have to be able to live with myself. I am a man, I'm responsible for what I do. I cannot be responsible for what everybody else does. And I'm saying that for Ayawaso West Wagon, I did not authorize it. I didn't know anything about it. When I had opportunities to speak, I spoke in the collective that yes, I knew of the SWAT team. I have been briefed about the operation, and I said at an FM station in Nkoko that in fact I was unhappy with the way the operation was carried out, and that if I was there responsible and in theater, that I would have done a much finer job than those there did. So yes, there was a commission of inquiry. Yes, they made some findings without basis. Yes, they made some recommendations. Yes, the white paper was written, and it cleared me that there was no factual basis for what they were asking the government to do. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move on to my last question.
Order.
Maybe this relates to farming, agric. You have made reference to Honorable Tanko, former Member of Parliament for the Yaba constituency, who is a large producer of rice. in that enclave. Akando is also, doing very well in the production of rice. Honorable Akando. Honorable Agalga is saying me too. Between the two of them, I'm a small boy. I mean, they are doing thousands of acres. I'm only doing hundreds of acres, so I don't compare myself to them at all. But there is currently a problem with paddy rice. The paddy rice that was produced last season do not have a market because government has directed that none should cross our borders. Yet, the capacity of processors in the country is not enough to take the paddy that was produced from last year. So you have paddy locked up in storerooms and warehouses of these producers, dictating the prices even downwards, making farmers run at a loss, given the cost that they incurred in producing this paddy. How will you, if you are fortunate to be approved by this committee, deal with that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've become aware of this situation, and I know that the Nigerian rice traders are on the market buying our rice, even though we are complaining that we don't have enough rice to feed ourselves. I don't know if the ministry will be comfortable with what I'm saying. The deputy minister is here. But I found out that, and the deputy minister of finance is also here, so this may put me in trouble. But it's quite nauseating that as we speak, we have agric machinery sitting at the ports since 2020 that the people of, the good people of Ghana paid for. And it includes machinery that can be used to process some of this rice. And it's still sitting at the ports. Mr. Chairman, I know that the Deputy Finance Minister will be very, very angry with it, but it's still there in about 30 containers. I can assure you that this situation is one that has come to my attention. We will deal with it. Every agric machinery that we import is going to go into dealing with the situation that we are talking about until such a time that the private sector have the capacity to mill our rice to feed into the population. I will act on it, Honorable Suhini. I shall. Thank you very much.
Very well. My deputy wants to go elsewhere, so I'll give him the chance to ask 3 questions and continue.
Honorable nominee. Honorable nominee. First, let me say for the records that I am most impressed. You've hidden your talent, your capacity, and your assertiveness. And today, you have lifted the veil. And you've left nobody here in any doubt.
Let me ask you a question.
First, how did you react to yesterday's press statement from Honorable Fifi Kwete regarding the position of his party vis-a-vis this morning's press conference by the minority? Proud to your being here. Is that information before the
Mr. Chairman, I have been in conclave preparing for this vetting, and I have not been apprised of a statement by Fifi Kwete or a press conference by the minority leader. I'm sure that after this meeting, I will be properly briefed, but I've been in conclave preparing seriously for this, and I'm not aware of any such statements.
So now, Honorable nominee, do you feel very relieved that today you've had the opportunity to tell the whole of Ghana that indeed you were not implicated in this Ayawaso West Wugon matter, and that the constitution and the white paper put together, you are qualified to hold this office, and that there is no such constitutional injunction by operation of Article 94 or that of 280 C and D.
The Presbyterian God is a powerful one. And I knew that a day will come.
Oh, no, but hold on. Is it Presbyterian what? The Presbyterians have a God different from the others. Is that what you're suggesting?
The chairman, I believe it is the same God. A Presbyterian Asumdwe Nkao. And I knew a day will come when I'll get the opportunity to explain and lift the veil of the propaganda surrounding the Ayawaso West organ. And I'm grateful that I have the opportunity today. For those who want to believe me, I'm sure they've moved on. And for those who don't want to believe me, I don't think this will even provide the opportunity. But as long as I've been heard and my conscience is clear, I think I'll be able to move on. But secondly, on the matter of me being indicted, I think I applied to become a candidate of the New Patriotic Party during the 2020 elections, and I was accepted, and presupposes that nothing holds me from becoming a minister of state. Thank you.
Now, you've spoken a lot about agriculture, the fact that you want to provide leadership for the purpose of food security. Now, we know that cash crop is critical for our foreign exchange support, especially cocoa as a cash crop. You've talked about how Galamsey has affected cocoa production. You have received some briefing from Cocoa Board, correct? Before I proceed.
Not much to be able to speak to a lot of happenings in Cocoa Board.
Now, since technology is now the key driving force in everything we do, would you, with your background in IT, want to impress on Cocoa Board to embrace technology as a main tool in one, checking on their costs and also improving on production, as well as dealing with issues of waste? Would you entreat them to make it a priority?
Honorable Chairman, the Deputy Minority Leader knows my background in IT. In fact, my PhD is in information systems. And you can be sure, and I see the CEO of Cocoa Board is also here, that every discussion that I've had with him in the last 3 days has been focused on how we increase productivity. And every tool in the basket will be employed to ensure that we achieve that productivity. Thank you.
Chair, my last question. Honorable nominee, the private sector approach is different from the public sector approach. Your vision in the private sector will not be the same in the public sector. So, two-in-one question. One, how do you hope to use this drive to push your vision getting into the public sector? I know in the past you were a minister of state. Now you are going to be a cabinet minister. You are not reporting to a minister. You are now going to drive the vision of the president and your own vision in a sector which is very key. So that is the first of the two. Second, from the briefing you've had, are there still donor support for agro-related programs, such as chemical supply, fertilizers, and other inputs for farmers?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I have a background in business, but one of the businesses that I've done in the past, a company called Into IT, have worked on a lot of IT projects with government. To chip in, my PhD focused on that because I was able to unearth that if you sharpen your vision, share it, you'll be able to achieve mutual understanding in the execution of government projects. My job, principally, is to ensure that the vision of government is sharpened, explained, the objectives so set, and I lead the team in the ministry, the same team, to achieve a different, much higher productivity. In fact, if you look at my background, I did a project at the Controller and Accountant General's Department. It was not possible to solve these ghost names problems. They had bedeviled this country for so many years. In the last 8 years, my software have removed about 60,000 people from the payroll. Before we started, Mr. Chairman, it looked impossible. But we studied the problem, we designed a solution, we implemented the solution with the same people at Accountant General, and we achieved the results. We have gone on to implement other software products in government and has achieved marvelously in Ghana and in the sub-region. So I have an experience with working with people and working with the public servants. And I believe that this same skill will lead me to achieve the set objectives of government in the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Yes, there are donor funds at the ministry. The ministry is executing several projects that are being funded by the European Union, the World Bank, and others. In fact, in the last couple of years, there have been some gaps in some funding that we received from the EU. We're going to work on all that to make sure that as things normalize around the world, we have a fair share to drive our great productivity in Ghana. And I'm sure that as we do that, there will be more opportunities for fertilizer and all the interest that private business people have in the country. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, thank you so much for the opportunity. Honorable Brian Achampong, I wish you many accomplishments. You've made it. You've made all of us proud. A Kwewu businessman and a Kwewu businessman and a...
Yes, Honorable Ayaga.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairman. Chairman, I intend to bring the committee back to the Commission of Inquiry work. Mr. Chairman, the Constitution in Article 94 2D says that one will not be qualified to be a member of Parliament if he has been found by the report of a commission or a committee of inquiry to be incompetent to hold public office, or is a person in respect of whom a commission or committee of inquiry has found that while being a public officer, he acquired assets unlawfully or defrauded the state or misused or abused his office. Misused or abused his office. I'm repeating that. Misused or abused his office. Or willfully acted in a manner prejudicial to the interest of the state. And the findings have not been set aside on appeal or judicial review. So when a committee has found that you have misused or abused your office, the only circumstance under which you will escape is if you have appealed against the conclusions of the commission, or you've gone for judicial review and the judiciary have set aside those findings of the commission, and you have a timeline within which to go and have it set aside. There's a timeline. And if you look at Article 278, Article 278, that deals with commissions of inquiry, and 282, it is clear that you have a timeline of 3 months. After 6 months, because the president or the government must publish the findings of the commission with a white paper within 6 months. If they don't publish it within the 6 months, then you who may have been found or negative finding has taken place in relation to your person, you must go to court and set it aside. Now, the committee, somebody mentions white paper. Interestingly, a white paper does not absolve an individual in respect of which there's a negative finding. White paper just states government's thought about the commission. Yes.
Now
so yes.
Commenting. Other question.
So I want to find out from you. The commission, you appeared before the commission, you testified, and in the end, the commission took a position that you should be reprimanded for the conduct of a Department of State that they concluded was under your authority. And therefore, you are liable for the misconduct of staff of that department, officers and men of that department. Did you take any step to set aside the finding of the commission in relation to yourself, since you claim that you never are responsible for the conduct of those individuals?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My Harvard-trained friend has only attempted to obfuscate the issues, in a sense that 94D does not apply to me. The contents of 94D does not apply to me. As a public officer, I have not acquired any, I have not been found to have acquired any assets illegally, misused or abused my office, and or willfully acted in a manner prejudicial to the interests of the state. It does not apply to me. That notwithstanding, Mr. Yaiga, it's not fair that if you are a minister of state at that level, or a supervisor, an IGP, CDS, and your men go on the field to execute an assignment and they misconduct themselves, and the policeman misconducts himself in Boko, and then the IGP is held liable is reprimanded, that's not fair. Even if it is true, it's just not fair. You can accuse him for not training his men, but you cannot place individual liability on such a person. It's not fair and it is not right. And that is the situation that I find myself, even if I authorize it. But in this case, it wasn't even me. That's a clear case of injustice, and that is what you should be fighting for me for.
Yes, so I'm fighting for you by drawing your attention to the fact that the Constitution has a provision, a remedy for you, which is that you must go and set aside those findings in relation to you. And you haven't gone to court to set aside those findings. There's a recommendation that says that you should be reprimanded. And you are saying that, look, I'm not responsible. So why am I being, why is there a directive that I should be reprimanded? And I'm saying that until you have gone to court to set aside that, you haven't gone to court to set aside that.
My Massachusetts colleague, I disagree with you, because I'm sure I know that you're a constitutional person, and you know the provisions of 285, and so we don't have to debate this, but the facts are there in 285. Please.
Exactly, that is where I'm drawing your attention to 285. The finding of a commission of inquiry shall not have the effect of a judgment of the High Court as provided under Clause 2 of this article, unless 6 months have passed after the finding is made and announced to the public, or the government issued a statement in the Gazette and in the national media that it does not intend to issue a white paper on the report of the commission, whichever is the earliest. 6. The right of appeal conferred by Clause 2 of this article on a person against whom a finding has been made shall be exercisable within 3 months after the occurrence of either of the events described in Clause 5 of this article. So 285 is actually the one that says that you should go to court and set aside, and that if you don't go to court and set aside, you know, the negative finding stands.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure that, if not for lack of time, my honorable senior will educate himself on 285B, and that should settle the matter. Thank you.
285B, and I'm still in the process of getting lectured. 285B says, the finding of a commission of inquiry shall not have the effect of a judgment of the High Court as provided under Clause 2 of this article, unless B, the government issues a statement in the Gazette and in the national media that it does not intend to issue a white paper on the report of the commission. How does that absolve you? How does that absolve you? Okay. So, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
The issue is that I have listened to the nominee repeatedly admit that findings were made against him, that those findings were unfortunate and not grounded on the facts.
Please,
before the commission.
Let's correct the record. He has admitted that recommendations were made against him, not findings. There are two different things. And so I was actually going to ask him whether there were any findings. So you finish.
Mr. Chairman, he's my friend, there's no doubt about that. But we're all doing our work here. So, Mr. Chairman, that's your ruling on the matter. But I thought he would have proceeded on an assumption that nothing there implicated him or anything of that sort. But no. There's actually an express statement in the conclusions that he should be held responsible.
The finding is that something went wrong, and he should be held responsible.
Yes,
Mr.
Chairman.
That's your
Yes.
first question. You are going to.
Fourth question.
Yes.
No, Chairman, this is the same question.
Yes. This is the fourth time you have answered. Can you conclude so I move on?
No, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, it was just one question about the provisions.
No, you have asked 3 times. This is the 4th question. Kindly ask, well, next one. Conclude this one so I move on.
No, Chairman, I'll leave this one so that it doesn't add as my additional question.
Very well, then let's go.
The second...
No, you have had 3 already. I was
Chairman.
ignoring the rule for you, but Chairman, if you are done, then I'm moving on.
No,
Please.
Chairman, it's the same subject matter.
We don't ask questions based on subject matter. You have 3 opportunities. You have exhausted them. You are actually on the 4th one. I ignore this, but please.
Just one, Chairman, just one. Not related to that, Chairman. Just one.
Very well. Yes.
Okay. So, my friend, Mr. Brian, back to agriculture. But I advise you to go and set it aside. That's my advice to you. But on the issue of agriculture, have you thought about or asked yourself basically these questions? What should be the average calorie intake of every Ghanaian? I'm building up something. I'm building up something.
Foundation. But not him answer. He's laying foundation.
No, they are interjecting. Have you asked yourself what size of land do we have to cultivate in Ghana to produce the quantity of food to satisfy that average calorie intake of every Ghanaian? Do you know what size of land in Ghana is actually subject to agricultural activity to meet that calorie requirement of every Ghanaian? And the deficit, which should be your target in terms of increasing the farmland size, overall national farmland size. Have you thought about these basic technical questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very happy about the concern expressed by my good friend Mahama Yariga, and such concern is captured in the advice that he's giving me to, if I am not satisfied, to go to court to get my name cleared. Honorable, I'm grateful. I'm extremely satisfied in the recommendations in the white paper. But I will consult you after this if there's anything that I need to be aware of. But for now, I'm satisfied with the white paper. On the issue of calorie intake, I'm not too sure if we should start with OPK stomach or Honorable Dambochi. You can tell that averages are affected by extremes.
That's why we have average.
Yes.
So you take his stomach and the other stomach, and then you strike the average.
But should we do that? I think we're looking at the male calorie intake of about 2,000 to 2,500, and a female of about 1,002 to 2,000. But I think it's not really about land size. It has everything to do with the yield. And that is why I said, and I have repeated, that the idea is to look at improved seeds that will increase the yield per acre. And if we're able to drive that, we will achieve enough, because we have the land. I think our farmers the 3 million farmers in Ghana that we have are working on about 9 million hectares of land, yet we are not meeting the demand. And so the whole idea is to increase the yield. And that's one thing that I'm going to work with the research institutions to ensure that yield in our cash crop, in our food basket, and in cocoa is improved to achieve the right results. I thank you for caring about me.
Thank you, now on leadership. Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. And Honorable Brian Achampong, my friend. On
ask questions on the other one.
On your CV, you said between 2005 and 2009, United States Air Force enlisted. May I know the rank at which you were enlisted and the rank at which you left in the U.S. Air Force?
Mr. Chairman, all details of my operations at national security, I'm sure, was discussed with you and with foreign governments, as we were advised, should not be shared in that. But I'm able to provide that to you, leadership of this House.
And it's not allowed for you to disclose the rank at which you enlist in the Army of the United States and the rank. We see them display general days, colonel days. What is the national security about this?
You are in leadership and you'll be apprised with that information today.
Mr. Brian Achampong, you in part of your answer, you said you provide IT services to the government payroll. You said it right now as part of your answers. I think government payroll is quite a sensitive government platform. Do you think it is appropriate for you serving in government and also privately? I don't have any problem at all with members of parliament engaged in private business. But do you think it was appropriate for you to be a national security minister and managing government payroll platform?
I have not said anywhere that I manage government payroll. I've not said that. What I have said is that I designed a product that has been procured and in use by government. I don't work at an accountant general or process their payroll on a day-to-day basis. I don't do that.
You own the software by which the government payroll operates?
It has been procured, so I no longer own the software.
Do you provide any after-sales service to the software at all?
Naturally, if you understand anything about IT.
I do understand a bit.
Thank you, Mr. Architect, the Honorable Architect. You will realize that because of advancements in IT on a day-to-day basis, there has to be updates and upgrades. But the company that owns the software that I used to manage provides those updates and upgrades. It is not done by me.
You still have interest in that company? Do you still have an interest in that company that provides the after-sales service to the platform, the software?
Yes.
That's the answer I wanted. If you go to the report of the Commission on Inquiry into the IRSO West Wagon event, 14th March 2019, precisely page 63, and I read from item 8.3.1, individual liabilities. The Commission recommends the criminal prosecution of Mr. Ernest Akomia alias Dobo for the unauthorized possession of firearms under section 1921 of the Criminal Offences Act. 2. 8.3.2. The Commission recommends the criminal prosecution for the offense of assault, to wit, the slapping of Mr. Samuel George by Mohammed Suleimana. 3. 8.3.3. the Commission recommends the immediate removal of DSP Samuel Kojo Azugu from command responsibilities at the Ministry of National Security, given his failure to appropriately command and control the SWAT team, of which he had charge during the operations of the Bawaleshi school polling station. It is recommended that he should be reassigned by the IGP. It goes on and on and on. Whilst you were at the ministry, are you aware whether the two gentlemen who have been asked to be prosecuted, as a minister, what step did you take to actualize what government, the report recommended, together with your colleague, the Attorney General?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will take 831, and it does not apply to me, and I don't have any information on what the National Security Council Secretariat did. I also don't know about what happened to Mohammed Suleimana, but I have a copy of the white paper, and I'm sure you do, and whatever was said about them. I also know that when it comes to Double, the government recommended the government takes note of the Commission's report and recommends it to the IGP for investigations, because he was accused of being in possession of a firearm that was established at the Commission. But it will have to take an investigation to establish whether that firearm that was in his possession was authorized or not. So he was, in fact, the white paper agreed and recommended him to the IGP for investigations. I don't know what has happened of that. I think that is what I can say about those.
Okay, thank you very much. A day after the Ayawaso West Wagon incident, you were alleged to have said publicly that Honorable Sam George came to the polling station with motorbikes and macho men. At the committee hearing, this issue was raised. Were you able to prove whether what you said publicly could be the truth?
Mr. Chairman, in the preamble, he said that I was alleged to have said, unless he's repeating, he's making a quotation of what I might have said, then I can defend myself. But if we go on the tangent of defending allegations that he himself cannot substantiate.
Did you make any comment anywhere that Honorable Sam George, a day after the event, that Honorable Sam George came to the polling station with motorbikes and macho men?
Not that I remember.
That doesn't mean you didn't say it either. Hold on. You don't know what I have.
Honorable Agboja, the question is not harmful. If I had said that he was on a motorbike or not, if I duly remember, I will that I remember. But I cannot remember. It doesn't mean that it's true or not true. But it's not harmful for me to deny it.
Okay. During the investigation, did your men tell you how Honorable Sam George came to the polling station?
I don't think it's consequential in this for me to have been told how people, the tens of dignitaries that came there, how they came there.
If we can prove to you that you did say that Honorable Sam George came there with motorbikes and macho men, will you be happy to apologize to him publicly?
Unless you are saying that...
say this because you said you can't remember currently.
Unless you are saying that riding a motorbike is offensive. Because that's also one of my favorite modes of transport. So riding a motorbike is not offensive.
I said motorbikes. I don't know how many people can ride 2 motorbikes at the same time. I said motorbikes and macho men. So it is not merely about him riding a motorbike as a means of transportation to the polling station.
Honorable Chairman, there is nothing wrong in riding a motorbike. There is nothing wrong as a member of parliament going around on election day with security. I don't see anything. I do it. Every politician has boys who follow him around on election day. There's nothing wrong with that. So even if I may have said it about Sam George, I don't think that, I'm not too sure, unless I accused him of something that he may not have done. And if my attention is drawn to it, I will apologize. But there's really, I don't see where we're going with it. I'm sorry.
We can leave that one there. I am happy you did say that the CEO of Cocoa Board is here, and I welcome him, and then Honorable Fifi Boafo. On the 2nd of November 2017, 2nd November 2017, it has been published in Business Ghana that the Cocoa Board uncovers ghost Cocoa Road contracts under President John Mahama NDC government. Then on City News portal, October 5th, 2020, publication of Cocoa Road report depends on government. As the new minister taking over the very important entity as Cocoa Board, I've read the first one where the chief executive, fortunately he's still the chief executive, alleged that a government procured contracts under Cocoa Road, and he calls it ghost. Ghost, I haven't seen a ghost before. Basically it means it doesn't exist. And then the Cocoa Board went ahead and set up a committee to investigate or audit the Cocoa Roads. Indeed, he admits that the report is ready. Yet they are saying that the Cocoa Road report is not for public consumption. May I ask you, because I've asked your predecessor a dozen times on the floor of Parliament. At a point in time, he said he's laid the report of Cocoa Road audit in Parliament, though nobody can find that report. May I ask you, if you get approval, will you confirm that you'll be kind enough to the people of this country to make the report of the Cocoa Road audit public, so that people can see whether the ghost contracts under Cocoa Road exist or the chief executive misled the country? Will you make that commitment?
Mr. Chairman, with your kind permission, if we can let the CEO take the seat and answer this question.
Fortunately, he can't. You are under investigation. Now you have a role, and he says that, will you publish if the report is available? Will you publish it? That's the answer.
Mr. Chairman, I'm hearing about this now. Every report produced in the ministry should be a matter for public consumption, especially to Parliament, if it has to do with cocoa and not classified by the state. So if there's a report, then it has to be read by Ghanaians, and Parliament must know about it. So I don't think that, unless there's something that I am not being told, but I can assure you that if there is a report, Parliament shall know about such report.
Thank you very much for your commitment. I appreciate that. Honorable, there's this issue also about your predecessor, as his reaction to the food price inflation started a policy of selling some staple food, predominantly plantain, at the ministry, and he promised to repeat that at other places. Now that you are taking over, are you aware of that policy, and will you be continuing with that policy?
I read about it, but I don't really know much about it. But I read about it, I saw it on TV, in the dailies, nicknames being called Bodiera and things like that. Bodierman, yes, but I heard about it, but that's just about it.
If you went to see the activity going on at the ministry, will you continue it? Selling the plantain at the ministry as an intervention?
I'm sure every leader and the tools that they apply to achieve their objectives. His predecessor may have done something different. He did something different. I will do something different.
My last question, I am here, I'm happy our senior brother, the road minister, is here. The issue of Cocoa Road is a very significant problem to this country. As a matter of fact, every government intervention you can talk of, whether it's healthcare, education, agriculture, tourism, would depend on good roads. I am happy the Cocoa Board actually offered to intervene by awarding Cocoa Road. The last time he met us, he gave us a figure of roughly 14.511 billion. That is the total commitment of Cocoa Road projects under the Cocoa Road, which you are coming to inherit. I know in the past, the government of President Mahama was accused of awarding Cocoa Roads to the tune of about 5 billion. Now we are almost at 15 billion. How do you intend to service the contractors, certificates, and other things, and still get the roads done if you are given the nod?
Honorable, Ministry of Agric is a huge ministry. In the last week, in fact, I entered the ministry to get briefing just about 5 days ago. It's just too much information overload. Kindly, knowing my scale and my commitment, approve me, and I will ensure that whatever needs to be done in the interest of this republic shall be done.
And I don't have any further questions for our colleague.
Chairman, let me thank you for the opportunity and commend my good friend for the nomination. And clearly he has shown demonstrable powers. And I'm surprised. I'm totally amazed that my questions are coming. They're very, very, very ready. The agri sector, the strength shown is just amazing. But let me pick your knowledge on the concept of agro-insurance index. It's become very popular on the continent, and I'm told there have been an amendment to the Insurance Act inputting this as a relevant element. What is your thinking, and have you something that you have thought about, given the nod? What will you do to sustain it as a very good concept in developing our agriculture sector?
At this point in our agricultural evolution, the economic security of the farmers must be sustained in order for them to continue to remain in agriculture. If it is not attractive, there will be no farmers. And so if I'm not aware of this scheme, but I think that is a laudable idea. If there can be any insurance policy that guarantees an income for the farmers in the event of post-harvest losses or seasonal losses, then it's something that has to be encouraged. Bushfires, Ghanacelebrities, you know, all kinds of things that are happening to farmers. If that policy is available, that is something that I really want to look into and support. But I have not been briefed about it. But I think that is a wonderful idea.
Okay. Honorable nominee, extension officers, I'm sure you are aware of the impact they play in the scheme of things. A number of reports have confirmed that the recruitment of extension officers has become quite a challenge. Do you intend to bring any different thinking or approach in terms of their recruitment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it has to do with the attractiveness of that occupation. I remember when I was in PSEC, we had agric extension officers come to the school farm. I was an agric student, Form 3, come to, I'm not saying prefect, I'm saying student, come to the school to help us in the school farm. We used to go there quite often to work with them. But my sense in that career field is that people are no longer interested in it because it's not attractive. I think my responsibility as a leader is to find a way to make that career field attractive so that these extension officers can get on the job, help farmers achieve the results that we as a people we want to achieve. And if I am able to refine that career field to get more young people to be interested in extension, agric extension work, I think that I would have achieved. It is not just agric extension, even the veterinary services. As we speak, they have a deficit of about 1,800 people that with the nod of the Deputy Finance Minister, I know if I'm approved this week, next week I'll get a financial clearance to get these people, these veterinary officers in to do the job as required by the Republic. So, Honorable Leader, that is how I will answer that question, that we need to make extension services attractive so that they can deliver on their mandate.
You are very reputable for successful business, and I bear witness to that. What is it that you will distill from your successful business life to be applied to this new sector, if you are gracious enough to?
Tamale, no, though. I think that question has been asked, yeah. So,
okay.
Can they ask another one?
Mr. Chair, let me go on to the thinking generally in this country about agriculture. You know, generally, most farmers, the average farmer, do not appreciate farming as a business. How or what do you think you can bring on board differently for our farmers' sense of appreciation, appreciating farming as a business, and to make ends meet out of it, running it as a business? I don't know if you get my point. What will you do differently? And I heard you loud and clear when you said attractiveness of the sector, extension officers, because the business is not attractive, people are not encouraged to go into it. What will you do to change the concept and the way we appreciate farming generally?
I think business has everything. If you want to take agric as a business, then you are looking at the rewards. It is the rewards that will keep people on the job to continue to produce for themselves and invariably for our food security, if you are looking at agriculture as a business. And therefore, as a leader of a ministry, my job is to make sure that they continue to get that reward that they seek. You should know that a businessman who is involved in agriculture, his first interest or primary interest is not to feed the country. His primary interest is to make money. And therefore, make that reward available to them incentivize them, get NAPCO to buy their farm produce as and when they have excess. Make sure that at least the government infrastructure, school feeding, police, military, prisons are all taking advantage of the produce that our farmers produce, so that they don't produce, it goes to waste, and then the following year you expect them to go back and plant. My job is to make sure that I provide the leadership that whatever they produce, there will be market for them, and I will do that.
Okay, let me try and conclude on this. I'm reliably informed that Minister of Agri has been very successful in their bid to manage debt owed to fertilizer suppliers and seed suppliers to your sector. I don't know what briefings you've received. How would you relate to this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a majority chief whip, you will have more information than I do. I am just now being immersed in the sector, and I'm sure that when I get in there and I'm comprehensively briefed, I'll take decisions positively for this republic.
Chair, this will be all, but just to provide information to my friend that I'll be available when he needs any consultancy on
your advert is overruled. Your advert is overruled.
Agro-enterprise.
Yes, Honorable Ranking.
Mr. Chairman, Honorable Nominee, first I want to ask you, did you swear the ministerial oath prior to your assumption of office as Minister of State at the Ministry of National Security? Did you swear a ministerial oath?
As part of the swear, Mr. Chairman, yes, as part of the swearing-in process.
Do you remember what you swore? Can I recap it and read to you? It says that I will uphold the principles of the Constitution, that I will faithfully observe the laws of Ghana, that I will promote the welfare of the people of Ghana, and that in all circumstances, I will do right to all manner of persons, according to the law, without fear, favor, affection, or ill will. Is that the oath you swore? The ministerial oath.
If you say so, unless it has been revised.
Will you, this is the ministerial oath, would you say you upheld your ministerial oath whilst you served as Minister of State at the Ministry of National Security? No, I picked it from the ministerial oath.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. I can read it again to you. So you have types of oath: the oath of secrecy, oath of office. Yes, oath of office, oath as Minister of Member of Parliament, and then the ministerial oath is oath of office. Yes, oath of a Minister of State is here. So let me read the ministerial oath to you again. Page 207 of the Constitution.
You don't have to. I heard the first one, but okay. If the question is,
so I want to know. Can you are not a member of the committee. You are just interjecting me, Honorable Leader. Allow me to make my point. Allow me to make my point.
Mr. Chairman,
I've read it.
With the greatest respect, now that you call me into question, what you read certainly is not the oath of a Minister of State. I don't know where you conjured it from. Read from the Constitution with the greatest respect.
Honorable Leader, first, you are not a member of this committee, and the chairman never called you, so you are completely out of order. You are completely out of order. Address the chairman first.
The chairman did not give him the listen. Go ahead and.
You don't rule me out of
Mr.
order.
Chairman.
You don't rule me out of order.
Very
you have
well,
no such authority to read me.
Very well, now.
You have no such authority.
Order. And now, I gave you the chance to raise the objection. Now, please proceed.
Would you say you held that office, you upheld that ministerial oath whilst you served as the Minister of National Security? Did you upheld the oath?
Without more.
I did not hear you. Can you repeat that again?
Without more.
On a hindsight, what would you say about your involvement in the deployment of armed NPP party vigilantes in a police vehicle to brutalize and injure innocent Ghanaians at Labaoleshi during the Ayawaso West Wagon by-elections?
Mr. Chairman, there's no factual basis to that question and no proof whatsoever to the question so posed.
Were you involved in the deployment of armed party vigilantes at Ayawaso West Wagon by-elections?
Mr. Chairman, I think if we can afford the member the opportunity to rephrase the question, that if...
Don't worry. Did you authorize any people at Laobaleshi? I think you have answered that question more than 2 times.
Because he said armed party. That part, that's where I need either rephrase or restate so that I'm sure what question I'm answering.
Mr. Chairman, my question is clear and simple. Were you involved in the deployment? I did not say you authorized. Were you involved in the deployment of the vigilantes at Laobaleshi?
Mr. Chairman, no, I was not involved.
Do you know Ernest Akomia, aka Double, a dealer in mobile phones at Tiptoe Lane? Do you know him?
I know Double, and I'm just now finding what his real name is, Ernest Akomia, but I don't know him as a mobile phone dealer.
I want to find out from you, what was Double's role at the office of the Ministry of National Security?
I met him in the ministry at the national, see, the architecture there is that there's a National Security Secretariat, Council Secretariat, headed by a coordinator. And then there's a Ministry of National Security. And in their operational command, which terminates at the National Security Coordinator, there is the operations unit, and then there's a SWAT unit. I became aware that he was embedded in the SWAT unit.
Honorable nominee, under what provisions of the law did you arm and deploy the law enforcement duties of Laobaleshi?
Go ahead, don't worry about it.
Mr. Chairman, categorical statements are being made without facts or basis. There is nothing like that. I did not do any such thing. I did not do any such thing.
Can you convince me to trust you as a Minister of State, considering what happened at Laobaleshi?
But I told you are my friend.
It doesn't matter.
And today you don't trust me.
I'm asking a question.
Today you don't trust me.
No, I'm asking a question that, but can you convince me?
You should be testifying on my credibility.
No, it's not about credibility. I said convince me. We are here for the people of Ghana. Okay, so we have to ask the questions that are needed. And I'm asking the questions.
Hey, I have to. Please, your mic's off. Hey. Now I have to come in.
Honorable nominee. Honorable nominee. Honorable nominee. In your earlier statement, in answering a question posed to you by Honorable Minister for Energy, you said nobody died as part of the Ayawaso West Wagon by-election operation. Are you aware that up to date, a gentleman named Yellow is unable to walk properly? Even though nobody died, but somebody has permanently been injured. Are you aware of that?
My good friend Ato, I think I mentioned in a preamble to this Ayawaso thing that anything that results in injury, especially around electoral violence, is regrettable. If indeed the statements that you are making is of facts, then I'm saddened by it. I've said it shouldn't have happened. I want, if you can give me any details of this gentleman, I want to visit him. You know, it should never have happened. And if indeed he's injured, then I think that the state should do something about it. But in terms of my liability to it, you know that it's not the case. But it's quite regrettable. It's quite regrettable. I'm sorry about that.
Thank you for that. But Honorable nominee, what have you done personally in your personal capacity as Mr. Brian Achampon, BA, for the injured or victims of Ayawaso West Wagon? What have you done personally?
Mr. Chairman, I actually want to, and I wish there was a platform for me to have been able to. But you realize that up until today, and some members of even this committee have been surprised about my involvement in the matter. It had been hyped to the extent that I didn't even think that these people will want to see my face. And if they are watching this, if there's anything I can do, because I do it for people, I do a lot of philanthropy, and if that opportunity is there, and I told you can lead me, I will want to. Not because I was involved, but because my fellow citizen, it has come to my attention that my fellow citizen is injured. And if I can, I will. And if you lead me to it, I shall do that.
Honorable nominee, the report of the Commission of Inquiry into the Ayawaso West Wagon event and the white paper on the report of the Commission of Inquiry into the Ayawaso West Wagon event both talked about the need to compensate the injured. Are you aware as to whether the government has compensated them?
I pray that they have. I am not aware whether it has been done or not, but I pray that they have. And if they have not, now that it has come to my attention, I will, whatever the advocacy that needs to be done to make sure that it is done, I shall employ my efforts to that.
Can I take it as an assurance to this committee that you will get involved and ensure that the injured or the injured are actually compensated in line with the two reports that I've just referred to?
I will find out. I'm not too sure, except for a few people. There's been a lot of changes in the ministry, a lot of changes in the last 4 years. If it is true that they have not been compensated, then I'm sure the Ministry of National Security is watching and hearing that it's come up in the committee. By now, people are scrambling there to make sure that the right things are done. I will follow up, and if it is not, I will prompt them of it.
Honorable nominee, In your earlier statement, coming from a question that a colleague asked you, you said the report never mentioned your name once. The report never mentioned your name once. Is that the case? Is that what you said?
In relation to a finding that I specifically authorized the operation, not in anywhere in the 500-page plus document.
Your name has been captured in 3 different places that I've seen in this abridged version of the report.
In relation to me authorizing,
I did not get that impression because you said your name was not mentioned even once in your earlier statement.
the chairman, I want to make it clear that in the 500-page report, the recommendation of the committee was that I should be reprimanded for authorizing an operation in a built-up area. That should take a cue from a finding in the report that says that when XYZ appeared before the committee, they said Brian authorized us to do that. Throughout the report, there was no such evidence, yet it appeared in the recommendation, and that is exactly what I meant.
Okay. Honorable Brian, I'm making reference to your CV. You said between 2005 to 2009, United States Air Force enlisted / Ghana, and your responsibilities included the following: attached to the Air Mobility Wing for operational readiness, managed small arms and fuel operations, executed military high command governors or presidential orders. Honorable nominee, you worked with the U.S. Army for 4 years. In what capacity did you work at the U.S. Army? In what capacity?
In the capacity as you just read.
What was your rank?
Enlisted.
Mr. Chairman, I ask this because as ranking member of this committee, it was only right for the honorable nominee to discuss this with us if he thinks that there are matters of national security and it cannot be made public. You discuss it with us before we sit here. But as I sit here, I have no information before me as if this is a matter of national security. So it's only right for me to ask those questions. Mr. Chairman, now I move on to policy. Honorable nominee, our poultry industry is struggling. What will you do to revamp the poultry industry?
Mr. Chairman, for the avoidance of doubt, when you leave the military, you are either giving honorable's certificate or a dishonorable certificate. For the avoidance of that, I'm going to...
We are moved out of that.
Chairman,
we discussed something here. When we finish, we'll go with that, please.
The public is interested, and I want to assure you that immediately we're done, I'm going to produce my honorable discharge certificate, which will state everything that I did in the military.
Mr. Chairman, my question was not as to whether he had an honorable or dishonorable certificate. My question was straightforward. What is the rank? If you can't answer,
all that information is on that particular document. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
So you can't say it publicly, but you can say in public that you will bring the document to us.
You have earned the right to be a leader, and you are entitled to certain classified information. On the issue,
Mr. Chairman, what is classified about a rank? A rank in the army. What is classified about it?
Just as you are misquoting even the branch of service that I was in. When you receive the documentation, you will now be able to know the branch.
I am not comfortable with the way this question is being answered. Mr. Chairman, I asked a simple question. I just wanted to know the rank. You asked me to wait so that he brings the information to us. But if he's going back to it, then it's only right for him to tell us the rank in which he left the army with. It's only right. It's a simple question.
Mr. Chairman, when confirmed, I understand the challenges facing the poultry industry. And it mostly has to do with the inputs, soya, maize, and the price of these inputs. In fact, our poultry industry is virtually on its knees. We have to do everything possible. We're spending so much money importing frozen foods, making our population, our poultry farmers, unemployed. As a ministry, I will lead a process to ensure that the inputs that they require to make sure that the industry is viable will be pursued.
Honorable Minister, Honorable Nominee and Honorable Former Minister for National Security, former Minister of State at the National Security. Poultry feed plays a major role in the survival of our poultry industry. Currently, the prices of poultry feed has tripled. Is there any measures you can put in place to ensure that our poultry farmers can get access to this feed at a cheap cost so that our poultry product can also be cheap?
Honorable Chairman, I'm sure that if the inputs were cheap anywhere, the poultry farmers themselves would have gone for it. It has to do with our capacity to produce these things locally at the cost where it will be bearable for them, so that this input will in turn lead to a reduced cost of production for them. At the moment, it's beyond their reach. The maize is not there, and if it is there, they just can't buy it, because you cannot sell the chicken at the price where nobody's going to buy. So they are vacating the trade. It is our job to make sure that there's improved seeds, high yields, that brings the price of the maize down and the soy down, so that the poultry farmers can have access to it. That is just what we have to do. And that is what I have said over and over again that I intend to lead.
Ghana imports onions from Niger, amounting to $100 million annually. Niger, onions from Niger. I want to find out from you as minister, this is low-hanging fruit. What short-term measures can you put in place immediately so that at the minimum, Ghana will not produce, will not import onions from Niger?
Honorable Chairman, why should Ghana import onions from Niger? There has to be something wrong with us as a people to allow us not to be able to produce onions in Ghana to feed ourselves. I mean, Mr. Chairman, if anything, if for nothing at all, we all have a piece of land in our homes to be able to plant our own onions. Why do we allow ourselves to import $500 million or $100 million worth of onion? This house, this parliament should have banned that thing long time ago. We need to commit ourselves to our own food security. And we need to provide the leadership as a minister, as a parliament, as a government to be able to achieve that. We have no business. Niger, half desert, half grassland, and we are importing onions from them. And we don't see anything wrong. Honorable leader, be assured, this embarrassment will be stopped because we will produce to feed ourselves. Thank you.
What is the status of one village, one dam? What is the status of one village, one dam?
I have not been briefed on that.
Honorable nominee, cocoa is certainly under the Ministry of Agriculture. Are you aware that Ghana Cocoa Board recently was unable to repay cocoa bills due them? Cocoa bills, repay cocoa bills due investors. Are you aware?
Yes, I am aware. I read that and I have some scanty brief on it.
Have you taken time to apprise yourself with the financials of Ghana Cocoa Board?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not yet.
How will you consider Ghana Cocoa Board's financial health at the moment?
Mr. Chairman, I think you are one of the people that speak about our finances. I know you speak a lot on Cocoa Board because you are very passionate about that. I am not an expert in the field of finance, and you are one of the people that I will consult, especially now that you're a leader of parliament, to put our heads together to see how we deal with the problems in the institution under my ministry.
Honorable nominee, Cocoa Board 2 years ago bought and sold almost 1 million tons of cocoa. Last year, just immediate past crop season, they bought and sold 640,000 metric tons of cocoa, slightly under 650,000 metric tons. This year, the target is for them to buy 800,000 metric tons. So far, if you are to check on the ICCO website, they've bought less than 600,000 metric tons. Yet, the amount they borrowed remained on service. Are you concerned about this?
Mr. Chairman, I think at the end of the day, we have to look at, if you're a minister, we have to look at the mechanics and what works for the Republic. If what you are saying, I don't know whether is positive, honestly, or negative. I need to be thoroughly briefed. Cocoa Board is a critical asset to the state. There are very, very senior people on the money matters at that level. I think we should be able to sit around the table, and whatever the solution is, if it is a problem, when prescribed, my job will be to lead it, to ensure that if it is a mess, we get out of it. And if it is positive, we push on and go ahead. I don't have enough information to be able to make comments and prescribe solutions to it. But whatever the solution that is prescribed by the experts, my job is to lead it to make sure that it is achieved. Thank you very much.
Last but one question. Are you aware that Ghana Cocoa Board award some road contracts in US dollars as against the central bank's directive?
I have all the documents that I have. I didn't see a dollar denomination on the contracts, but I will want to find out if there's any such. But then again, this is not to say that if they are doing so, it's right or wrong. But I don't know. I just don't know. I'm sorry.
Are you aware of the total indebtedness owed to fertilizer suppliers by your ministry to be, if approved? Total indebtedness owed to fertilizer suppliers.
I saw. I think I read in the brief that it is north of about 200. It's north of about 200 million Ghana cedis on the cocoa fertilizer. Yes.
And you are aware that as a result of the indebtedness to these fertilizer companies, they are unable to raise LCs to bring in fertilizers. What do you think will be the impact on crops going into the crop season?
Let me revise the numbers that I gave. What I have here is PFJ subsidies. So it may
for
not,
food and jobs.
Yes, it may not necessarily be all fertilizer. Let me clarify that. I have 4 headline debts, and one is PFJ subsidies of about 257, irrigation about. Absolutely, if there are small businesses faced with the challenges of government not paying up, then they will have the challenges that you are.
And finally, so far, government of Ghana has spent 3.2 billion Ghana cedis on planting for food and jobs. Considering the output of the program, planting for food and jobs, will you say the program has been successful or unsuccessful?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you were succinct in the figures of how much has been spent, but what has been received, you have not told us so that I can compare.
How much, according to your budget statement, the Ministry of Finance has disbursed to the Ministry of Agriculture for the purposes of planting for food and jobs?
I got that. I want you to also tell me the output so that I'm able to compare.
That is why I'm asking the honorable nominee. You are going to the ministry. You are the one that the expert has briefed you. Considering the amount you have received, 3.2 billion Ghana cedis for the program, planting for food and jobs. You know the output. Do you think the program has been worthwhile?
I don't know the output, but I also don't think that 3.2 billion in 6 years is enough investment in agriculture for our food security.
3.2 billion is not all the investment in agriculture. It's the investment in one program at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
Honorable Member, whatever the investment is, in so long as we have not been able to achieve food security, food reliance, resilience and buffer, and for export, it means that the investment in itself is not enough.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I was hoping that we would do just 2 hours with you, but we've done almost 3 hours. I'll ask one question. A friend who is a poultry farmer sent me a question. He says that we would be able to overcome the feed challenges if we cut down the export of grains. Are you aware that we export some part of our grains, the soya and the maize?
Yes.
Do you agree that if we cut that down, our poultry farmers would get an advantage?
It will help. It will not be able to meet the demand. We need aggressive investment to be able to achieve the levels that will, and the levels in quantity and the levels in cost, such that the poultry farmers will have it as an input to be able to produce the poultry to feed the population. So yes, it will help, but it will not solve the problem.
Another person is asking that we have everything we need to manufacture fertilizer locally. Has your investigation confirmed this?
Mr. Chairman, I will find out. I know we do organic fertilizer from compost and peat and poultry droppings, but is it enough to feed the population? I don't think so. There's also inorganic fertilizer, and I know that some individuals are trying to put some investments in the country. We need to look at all these things holistically by setting the agenda, the objective of us as Ghanaians, as a country, of what we want to achieve and the mechanics that we need to deploy to achieve that. And we have to do this thing together.
Very well. From what I've seen of your investment, I have confidence that you put your mind to something, you can achieve it. So I wish you well. We thank you for attending upon the committee to answer questions. Before I discharge you, I accepted to or I've agreed to recognize some people. You've mentioned some of them. I see the CEO of Cocoa Board here, Honorable Boahiedu. When I joined this committee, he was a member in 2009. Now he's heading Cocoa Board, he's selling cocoa. The head of buffer stock, Hanan, is also here. Okay. Now, Mrs. Janice Champong, wife of the nominee, is also here. And mother of the nominee, Madam Comfort Ampoma, you're also welcome. Right. Achimfosi Dwajimang, the third, Nana Mamunia, Abetifi Hine and Abetifi Hima, you're welcome. Nana Somuamre Kunyampong, Kowu Asaka Hine. They call it Kowu Asaka Hine. Nana Boama Ayirepe, the third, and Kwetia Hine. You're welcome. Bafo Ejari Yabua Siama, Kowu Mare Hine, Abene. Yeah. Nana Krobia Santi, I don't think him prior to Kowu. And my own brother, Nana Oredu Wade. Kwetia Uncle Sohine. Brother, you're welcome. And then Nana Safu Kantanka the third, Nkwetia Adontihine. As for, I'm not surprised that you're all here, Nkwetia, because Rock City is a sufficient investment for the community of Nkwetia. So we are grateful. I am also married to Nkwetia. I'm now coming to my party people. Yes, I've seen Nana B. You didn't put it. National organizer, I recognize you. Thank you for coming to support. And I see former MP, Honorable Collins Usamankwa. I said, because of his beard, I mistook him for somebody. I'm sorry, I think I overlooked. Yes, Nana Kwetiahine, Nabwa Mai repeat the third. Nana Kwetiahine, Nana, we thank you for coming. You're welcome. All right, who is the D4? So I see that all the 18 caucus are here to support and other members of parliament. Today is not a sitting day, but you're here in your numbers. Thank you. We thank you all of you for coming. You're discharged.